Hey there, welcome back to Online Marketing Foundations. Here in Module 3, we're talking about connecting with your audience. This is the connect phase, and we're going to be talking about different things throughout this module that you can do to connect with your audience. And here in Lesson 2, we're going to use kind of one of my rallying cries, which is add more cowbell. Now, a cowbell is something, if you've ever heard it, you can't ignore it. It gets your attention. Now, you might like it, you might hate it, but you can't ignore it. And this is an idea that came from an SNL skit, and it's something that a friend gave me the expression. But the concept is about adding yourself to your brand and adding more of you to your brand. So that's what we're going to be talking about here in Lesson 2. Let's dive in. And as always, we're starting with a truth bomb, which is that your personality is the most powerful tool you have to connect with your audience. So it's time to quit hiding and start showing up. Look, I want you to understand this. People are going to have to connect with you in some level if you really want to build a kind of successful business. And if you hide, if you won't let people understand who you are, get to know who you are, you're not going to connect with them. That's just the reality. So your personality, who you are, is basically the most important thing for the connection phase. And so that's why we're starting with this lesson here as kind of the first substantive lesson within the connect phase. So in this lesson, you're going to learn why you need to be yourself in your business and how to be authentic without being fake or oversharing. Because a lot of people worry when I say this, that it means they have to share every last detail of their life. That's not what I'm saying. We'll go through it in turn. But let's start with the general concept that you need to include more of yourself in your business. And again, as I said, more cowbell is my rallying cry for entrepreneurs to add more of themselves to their brand. So if you ever hear me say more cowbell, if you see me use a hashtag more cowbell, what I'm saying is add yourself to your brand. Insert your personality, be there as, make your brand an extension of who you are. So that's what this is about. So why do you need to do that? It's very simple. People don't want to do business with companies. They want to do business with people, and preferably people like them. It's just the reality. Now, yes, we do business with companies, especially in the bigger world, we do that. But if we can actually connect with a person, we actually are way more likely to do business with that company. So if you think about all of these things, when you actually have a level of connection with people, you are going to be way more likely to do business with them. So think about that from a consumer perspective. Now say, okay, so then that means as a business owner, I need to be building that connection of them with me as a person so that they like me, they know me, and all of that, and that will bring them my way and make them more likely to do business with me. So that's the why behind this concept. Now, so look, whether you're goofy, snarky, calm, or scattered, let the real you shine through in your business. If you're in my world, you know that I'm snarky. You know that I'm goofy. You know that I tell dad jokes. You know that I do all of those things because that's who I am. I'm not putting on a show. I'm not coming here and acting. I'm being Bobby. And so you get to actually see the real me, which allows people to actually, who are like me, to actually connect with me. And that's the power that people get to see. And so that's the idea. Just whatever it is about you that makes you you, bring that personality, bring that thing into your business. And here's an example. When I first started telling personal stories in my emails, this would have been in the fall of 2018, I got a response from someone. And it was either the first or second email I sent. And basically she said this: I've been on your list for a while, but this is the first time that I finally feel like you're a person, not a brand. And it's the first time I want to do business with you. That's powerful. And what I'll tell you is, a lot of times you don't have people say that, but that's what they're thinking. And, when you allow for that connection, all of a sudden, whether it's an email or social or whatever it is, they're actually going to feel this level of connection with you. And they're going to be like, okay, I want to pay attention to this person. I want to actually, because it's a person, it's not a company. I want to be all in on this. And that's what's actually happening. Now, let's be honest. A lot of people are afraid to show their true colors because they're trying not to offend anyone. That's why most people won't do this. They won't do the things because they're, some people might not like it if I'm snarky. Or in my case, it's I drop some, I don't tend to use the F word, but I sometimes curse. And for a long time, I was afraid to do that at all in business because, like, well, some people might not like it and things unprofessional. And so I understand why you might think that. Or maybe it's like, something as simple as like, I wear t-shirts. That's what I actually do. I wear t-shirts. I wear hoodies. I wear sweatshirts. I don't wear anything fancy in real life. But for a long time, I felt I needed to show up as somewhat more professional. Because again, I was like, well, what would people think about a legal guy in a t-shirt? I was afraid to offend people. I was afraid to turn people off. And a lot of people, that's why they're holding back. But what I'm going to tell you is trying to not offend anyone is a mistake. Your goal is to attract your true fans, not everyone. And if you're trying to not offend anyone, what you're doing is you're being bland. You're being vanilla. And I love vanilla for a flavor. But the problem is you're worried about people who don't matter. What you need to be focused on is who are your true fans? Who are the true people who will be in your audience and that you will want to lead, that you will lead, that you can connect with. And when you focus on them, you'll understand that allowing them to see the real you is not a problem. Now there's an expression that I heard, I don't know where it came from, but love me or hate me, there's no money in the middle. And this is kind of an idea that I want you to get, that if you're just bland, vanilla, middle of the road because you don't want to offend anyone, you're falling in the middle. And again, I don't want people to hate me. Let me be clear. But I want people to know who I am and be like, yep, I resonate with Bobby, or nope, I do not resonate with Bobby. And make that decision, and they decide whether they want to get on to kind of the bus that I'm leading or not. And if not, cool, no big deal. But I'm way more likely to actually kind of be doing the right thing and attracting the right way. And again, I'm just going to be simple on this. You can't attract your true fans if you aren't willing to repel the people who aren't your people. Okay? If you're not willing to repel the people who aren't your people, you're never going to actually get the right people. And that's where this love me or hate me, there's no money in the middle comes from, that general idea. And what I want to suggest is you bless and release. Like, people leaving your community because they don't resonate with the authentic you isn't a bad thing. It's the sign that you're actually building the right benefit, the right audience. So I want you to get that. And it's one of these things, like I have this thing in the email world, I celebrate unsubscribes. When people unsubscribe from my list, I'm like, yes, awesome. And that's hard when you're starting out, I get it. But the concept is that what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, they just made the decision that my emails are not for them, that I'm not the right person for them, that I'm not the right guide for them on this journey. And that's okay, but that means I'm at least showing people who I am. And so that's what you need to do. You need to have that mindset and that approach, and then you will be in the right headspace. Now, this so far has all been about the benefits for building fans, etc. But I want to give you a side benefit. Business is way more fun and less frustrating when you just let your freak flag fly. And what I mean by that is when you're willing to just be the real you, life will be way more fun. Business will be way more fun because look, trying to be someone you aren't is exhausting. You have to remember, well, who am I supposed to be? And what's the persona I'm supposed to put on? And what's the quote authentic me, even though it's not the authentic you? You have to do all of those things. There's a famous scene that I think of from this movie Spy Game, if you've ever watched it, with Robert Redford and Brad Pitt. And Robert Redford is basically helping kind of train Brad Pitt to be a spy. And he challenges him to go get, I guess, a phone number from a woman or go get some information from a woman. I don't remember what it is. And Brad Pitt goes and he tells this woman a story, and he comes back, and then Robert Redford's character says, now you've just told 5 lies that you have to remember. Well, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are doing. They're putting on a show, and they have to remember what their public face is. And so it's like they can't do this, that here, etc. I'm just going to be honest with you. If you just decide, I'm just going to be the real me, on stage, off stage, with friends and my business, all of that, it is freeing. You don't have to spend any mental bandwidth thinking about that stuff. And that is a side benefit. Now, it's going to help you get people into your audience. It's going to help you connect with the right people, but it's also going to make your life so much easier. Like I don't have to think about what I'm putting on to when I'm going to go live, for example, because I'm like, I'm just going to dress like I would dress. If people don't like it, that's cool. No biggie. And it just makes life so much easier. So that's what I'm going to suggest to you as kind of a side benefit. So that's kind of, the first pitch, but now let's talk about this concept that you don't have to overshare. Like a lot of people are worried that this means they have to share their deepest, darkest secrets, and you don't. More cowbell doesn't mean you have to share every last thing about your life. You get to pick and choose what you share. It's really about bringing like your personality through more than it is sharing every last detail. And a simple example, my wife doesn't want me sharing pictures of her and my daughter on social. So I don't. I mean, again, if you think about it, that a lot of people would think of that as a huge limitation. Like, how are you going to build a brand? Because, you look at a lot of influencers and that's what they're doing. They're sharing pictures of family and all that. Well, my wife has said no. And so I respect that. And it's not a problem. People are still getting to know me. They hear me talk about being a father. They hear me talk about being a husband. I simply have drawn a line on that place that's important for my family. And maybe it'll change at some point. I don't know, but it's where I am right now. And so you can make those same kinds of decisions. But let's talk about what you should be doing to kind of really start this process of adding more cowbell to your brand. The first thing I would say is talk in your business like you would talk to a friend. Don't use like King's English. It's this funny thing that I see, like people who, talk one way when they're talking to friends who all of a sudden get all formal and all like fancy and all, prim and proper and all that when they're talking like on a live or in their videos or all those things. And I'm like, but that's not the real you. And so don't do that. And again, I can't blame it, right? Because we were taught that like when you write, you are just supposed to use these rules and all of these things. And so like I understand where it comes from, but what I want to tell you is you don't have to follow perfect grammar in the online world. Now, if that's who you are, that's okay. But in most instances, we don't need perfect grammar. We don't need, kind of prim and proper language. You can end sentences with a preposition. That's okay, even though it's not okay under traditional English rules, because that's how you probably talk. But it's also about finding the cadences, finding the words you use, those kinds of things that will actually just make you and your brand feel the same and feel aligned. Again, we already talked about this, but dress to feel comfortable and fully you. Don't feel like you have to wear something different to please people. If they are not going to like you when you show up as you, bye-bye. Let them go, because you don't want those people in your audience. Talk about your life, the good and the bad, not just about business. I talk about things that are happening in my life because, candidly, those are the things that people will be able to relate to. I tell things about, stories, and in the stories lesson that's coming up, you'll hear about this. I tell stories that are like little tidbits from my life now and in the past and all these things, because I know that people will relate to those stories, maybe not all of them, but some of them. And when they relate to them, it allows them to say, oh, hey, Bobby's like me. Oh, he, and he's an actual person, not some whatever. And it allows them to feel this kind of connection about me or between me and them. And that's the power. So again, that's why you want to talk about your life. It's to let them see those things. Now, I'm not saying like you share everything. And again, if your life is really weird and completely different than everybody's, you might want to think about, hey, how can you make it relatable? But the concept is to make people relate to what you are living in your life, not just your business. And then flaunt your quirks, whatever those might be. These are like the interests. Like, I like beer, so I talk about beer. I like music, and I'm a former punk rocker. So you see that kind of style, and I talk about those things. But there are other people who love Star Wars and talk about Star Wars. There are other people who love Lego and they talk about Lego. You get the concept. It's those things about you that maybe make you different from most people. And some people will be like, oh yeah, I'm the same. Cool, I want to follow this person. Other people will be like, well, I'm not the same, but it's kind of cool that this person has this interest. And again, one of mine is pop culture more generally. I make pop culture references that many people don't even get, candidly. And it doesn't turn them off, but the people who get it love it because they catch on to these little things. So that's kind of the way you do it. But again, you can still set boundaries, but when you share your life, you'll begin to attract people who resonate with who you actually are. And that's the goal here. Again, I said it earlier, the point is not to attract everyone. The point is to attract and cultivate your relationships with your true fans, with the dedicated people. Those are the people who will really help you build a business. And so, again, going deeper with fewer people is going to be way more beneficial than going wider and have surface level connections where people don't have a sense of who you are and just feel like you're a brand. So, although I want you to be building a brand, the brand should include your personality in it. And that's the goal of adding more cowbell. So, being fully you serves your audience at the highest level because it gives them permission to be fully themselves too. So that's a separate issue. Like, number one, it'll help attract people, but also in some sense, people see it and are like, oh, wow, cool. If he or she can do it, I can too. And so that's part of why I like doing it, is by me being me. I know that other people see it and say, wow, I don't have to put on an act. I can just be me. And so that's a further way that it's going to help to really serve your audience. So my parting piece of advice here is quit trying to please someone else. Just be you. When you do it, it will actually help you to attract the right people to your audience. So that's it for this lesson. Now, in the next lesson, we're actually going to be talking about what core stories are and why you need them in your business. So we're going to be talking about kind of the stories that every business owner, every entrepreneur needs to be cultivating and thinking about how to develop so that they can cultivate these connections with their people. So I'll see you in that lesson.